Good evening, everybody. I want to take a moment tonight to remind us all in a world that's obsessed with appearances that true beauty isn't something you can buy off a rack. The beauty of a woman is not in the clothes she wears. It's not in the designer labels stitched into her dress or the shoes she walks in. It's not in the shade of lipstick, the style of her hair, or the way she poses for a camera. True beauty runs deeper than fabric. It's in the way she carries herself through the storms of life. It's in her strength, her dignity, her compassion. A beautiful woman is one who knows her worth without ever having to shout it. She can walk into a room and light it up, not because of what's on her body, but because of what's inside her heart. Her kindness, her wisdom, her patience. These are the things that make her unforgettable. Character outshines cosmetics every single time. Grace beats glamour. Heart outweighs heels. And when the world tries to tell her she needs to be something else to be enough, skinnier, richer, younger, louder, a truly beautiful woman stands tall. She knows that her value isn't determined by the world's opinion. It's anchored in her soul, and nobody can take that from her. True beauty is rooted in character, not clothing. It's a truth that often gets drowned out in the noise of a society that celebrates appearances more than substance. In a world where social media filters and fashion trends dominate conversations, it becomes easy to forget that what makes a woman truly beautiful cannot be captured in a photograph or sold in a store. It is not woven into the fabric of her dress, not stitched into the seams of designer brands. True beauty radiates from the inside out. It is found in her resilience, her kindness, her quiet strength, and the way she treats those who can do nothing for her. Clothing can catch the eye, but it cannot capture the soul. It might turn heads for a moment, but it's character that holds attention for a lifetime. A woman's true beauty is revealed in how she carries herself in the face of adversity, in how she loves without expectation, and in how she stands for what's right, even when it's not easy. It is in her courage to be authentic in a world that constantly pressures her to conform. It is in her ability to walk into a room and change the atmosphere, not by what she is wearing, but by the energy and grace she brings with her. When you really look at it, clothes are simply an outer shell, a temporary covering. They are part of how we express ourselves, sure, but they do not define us. A beautiful woman understands that her value isn't stitched into the fabric she wears. She knows that when the makeup comes off, when the fancy shoes are kicked off, and when the cameras stop flashing, what remains is what truly matters. Her heart, her integrity, her spirit. Character is built through life's trials. It's built through showing up day after day, doing the right thing when no one is watching, forgiving when it's hard, and giving without expecting anything in return. A woman with strong character doesn't need to announce her worth. She doesn't need approval from the world because she already knows who she is. Her beauty is in the quiet moments, when she chooses compassion over judgment, strength over fear, honesty over popularity. True beauty speaks louder than fashion. It speaks in the way she comforts a friend, the way she lifts up a stranger, the way she holds herself with dignity, even when life tries to tear her down. It's easy to buy clothes. It's much harder to build a soul that's worth admiring. A beautiful woman knows that trends will fade, seasons will change, and what's fashionable today will be forgotten tomorrow. But who she is at her core, that will never go out of style. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your beauty comes from within. It's a confidence that doesn't boast, doesn't need validation, and isn't shaken by someone else's opinion. It's the kind of confidence that cannot be bought or sold because it's rooted in something eternal. When a woman embraces the fullness of who she is without relying on external trappings, she becomes magnetic in a way that no dress or makeup could ever replicate. We live in a time where appearances are often mistaken for reality. Filters smooth out flaws. Advertisements sell impossible ideals, and pressure mounts to look perfect at all costs. But perfection is a hollow goal, and chasing it will leave you empty. True beauty doesn't come from looking perfect. It comes from living honestly. It comes from having scars and owning them, from having dreams and chasing them, from falling down and getting back up with grace and grit A beautiful woman does not allow clothing to define her because she understands that her worth was established long before she ever put on her first outfit. It was woven into her very being. Her laughter, her tears, her hopes, her battles. These are the threads that create the fabric of who she is. Real beauty cannot be measured by size or price tags. It is measured by the size of her heart, by the depth of her love, by the reach of her kindness. When you meet a woman who knows that her beauty is rooted in her character, you know it instantly. She doesn't have to prove anything. Her presence speaks volumes. You feel it in the way she listens. You see it in the way she stands for others. You recognize it in the way she carries her past, not as a burden, but as a badge of honor that has shaped her into who she is. She doesn't need to impress. She simply needs to be. And that, more than anything she could ever wear, is what makes her beautiful beyond measure. Strength, dignity, and compassion define a woman's worth. These qualities cannot be purchased, they cannot be borrowed, and they certainly cannot be faked. They are earned through experience, carved into the soul through life's victories, and even more through its trials. Strength is not about being invincible or unaffected by pain. True strength is about carrying on when the weight of the world feels unbearable, about finding the courage to speak the truth when silence would be easier, about standing firm in values when everything around pressures you to compromise. A woman's strength is in her perseverance, in her ability to nurture without losing herself, in her ability to lead with both wisdom and humility. Dignity is the quiet power that follows strength. It is the invisible crown that a woman wears no matter where she stands in life. It shows in the way she respects herself and others, in the way she refuses to settle for less than she deserves, and in the way she holds her head high even when circumstances are unkind. Dignity is not pride. It is not arrogance. It is rooted in the understanding that worth is intrinsic, not something that can be granted or taken away by anyone else. A woman with dignity does not need to shout her value from the rooftops. She carries it silently, and it demands respect without ever asking for it. She does not chase validation because she already knows her place, and it is not determined by the opinions or approval of others. Compassion is the heartbeat that brings strength and dignity to life. Without compassion, strength becomes cold and dignity becomes distant. Compassion connects a woman to the world around her, allowing her to feel deeply and act selflessly. Gives her the ability to see beyond herself, to understand the struggles of others, and to offer kindness even when it is not reciprocated. A compassionate woman does not see vulnerability as weakness. She sees it as a bridge, a way to build understanding and healing where there is hurt. Her compassion makes her a safe place for others, a light in dark times, and a source of comfort in a world that often feels harsh and unforgiving. When a woman embodies strength, dignity, and compassion, she becomes truly powerful. This power is not loud or showy. It is steady, it is unwavering, and it is transformative. She changes rooms when she walks into them, not because of what she wears or what she owns, but because of who she is. People feel her authenticity, her kindness, her resilience, and they are drawn to it because it is rare. In a culture that often prioritizes image over essence, a woman who leads with her heart and stands firm in her values is a revolutionary presence. These qualities do not develop overnight. They are built over years of choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. Strength is developed when she gets up one more time after every fall. Dignity is shaped every time she chooses not to compromise her values for temporary gain. Compassion is deepened every time she chooses understanding over judgment. Each moment, each choice builds her into someone whose worth is undeniable, not because of her appearance, but because of her impact. A woman's worth cannot be dictated by trends, by popularity, or by fleeting attention. It is anchored in who she is at her core. Strength teaches her to face life's storms without losing herself. Dignity teaches her to respect herself and demand the same from others. Compassion teaches her to reach out even when it costs her something. Together, these qualities form a foundation that no external force can shake. In a world that often reduces women to their physical appearance, it is vital to remember and remind others that true worth comes from the intangible qualities that clothing can never reveal. Beauty fades, styles change, but the essence of a woman who has built her life on strength, dignity, and compassion will only deepen with time. Her influence will ripple out far beyond her lifetime, leaving a legacy not of how she looked, but of how she lived and loved. It is in the countless small moments, in the way she holds herself during times of loss, in the way she advocates for others without seeking praise, in the way she forgives when bitterness would be easy, that her true worth shines brightest. These are the moments that define her far more than any outward adornment ever could. Her story is written not in the things she wore, but in the battles she fought, the hands she held, and the hearts she touched. Inner light outshines outer appearances. It is a truth that remains constant no matter how much the world changes, no matter how many new trends, new faces, and new fashions. Marriage. A woman's inner life is something that cannot be manufactured or imitated. It comes from the deepest parts of her soul, cultivated over time through her experiences, her values, and her faith in herself. It is not something you can see immediately when you glance at her, but once you notice it, it becomes impossible to ignore. Her inner light makes her unforgettable, not because of what she wears or how perfectly she presents herself, but because of the feelings she leaves behind long after she is gone. There is something magnetic about a woman who shines from within. She doesn't have to compete for attention. She doesn't need to speak the loudest, dress the boldest, or act the most outrageous to be seen. Her light draws others to her naturally, not because of artifice, but because of authenticity. People are drawn to her warmth, to the quiet confidence that she carries. She moves through the world with purpose and kindness, and that glow cannot be replicated by any outfit, any hairstyle, or any designer brand. True beauty, the kind that lingers, is born from who she is, not from what she wears. Outer appearances are fleeting. They are subject to change, to aging, to the passing whims of fashion and popular opinion. What is considered beautiful today might be forgotten tomorrow, but inner light is timeless. It does not fade with age. In fact, it often grows stronger with time, becoming more powerful, more radiant, as life's trials are weathered and wisdom is gained. A woman whose light comes from within only becomes more beautiful as the years pass because her light is rooted in truth, compassion, and resilience. This inner radiance shows itself in countless small ways. It's in the kindness of her words when someone else is struggling. It's in the patience she shows in moments of frustration. It's in the courage she displays when standing up for what is right, even when it's not popular. It's in her ability to listen, truly listen, and make someone feel seen and valued. None of these things can be captured by a mirror or a camera. They are felt, not seen, and their impact is far greater than any surface-level beauty. A woman's inner light is fueled by her self-respect, her passion, her empathy, and her perseverance. It is not about being perfect. It is about being real. It is about embracing both strengths and flaws, about learning and growing, about loving others and loving herself. That kind of light can never be dimmed by a bad day, a harsh word, or an unfair judgment. It is too deeply rooted to be shaken by external forces. Society often tries to convince women that their value lies in how they look, that they must constantly strive to meet unrealistic standards of beauty, to be worthy of love, respect, or admiration. But a woman who understands the power of her inner light refuses to buy into those lies. She knows that no makeup, no dress, no hairstyle can replace the beauty that comes from living with purpose and integrity. She invests in her mind, her heart, her spirit, knowing that these are the things that will sustain her long after physical beauty fades. When a woman leads with her inner light, she inspires others to do the same. She gives other women permission to step into their own authenticity, to love themselves beyond the surface, to believe that who they are matters more than what they look like. Her light creates a ripple effect, touching lives she may never even know she impacted. This is a beauty that lasts. This is a beauty that builds bridges, that heals wounds, that changes the atmosphere wherever she goes. True radiance has nothing to do with the brightness of a sequin dress or the sharpness of a pair of heels. It has everything to do with how a woman lives, how she treats others, and how she stays. true to herself. Her light is a reflection of the love she gives, the hope she spreads, and the courage she shows. No amount of external polish can match the glow of a heart that is alive with kindness, integrity, and strength. It is the woman who walks into a room and immediately makes others feel comfortable, valued, and respected, who leaves the most lasting impression. Not the one with the most expensive outfit or the most flawless makeup, but the one whose spirit shines so brightly that it touches everyone around her. Her beauty is not loud, but it is undeniable. Her beauty is not fleeting, but eternal. Her beauty does not demand attention, it commands respect.
Only without ever asking for it.
Self-worth isn't measured by society's standards. It is something far deeper, far more personal, and far more enduring than any outside opinion could ever define. In a world that is quick to categorize, to judge, to set expectations based on appearance, wealth, popularity, or fame, a woman's true self-worth must come from within. It cannot be given by others, and it cannot be taken away by them either. It is a decision she makes every day to honor herself, to recognize her own value, even when the world refuses to see it, even when she is overlooked or underestimated. Society is relentless in its attempt to dictate what makes a woman valuable. It sets impossible standards, constantly shifting, constantly raising the bar, just out of reach. One day it demands youth. The next day it demands success. The next day it demands a certain look, a certain lifestyle, a certain way of being. If a woman ties her sense of worth to society's approval, she will find herself in a constant battle, always chasing, always feeling not enough. But when her self-worth is rooted in who she is, not what the world says she should be, she finds a freedom that no amount of external validation could ever provide. True self-worth comes from understanding that you are enough as you are. It comes from recognizing your own dignity, your own humanity, your own right to occupy space in this world without needing to prove yourself to anyone. It is built on self-respect, on knowing your own mind, on honoring your own heart. It grows stronger every time you say no to something that diminishes you, every time you walk away from something that does not honor your value, every time you stand tall in the face of criticism and choose to believe in your own voice instead. A woman's worth is not in her reflection in the mirror or the numbers in her bank account. It is not measured by the brand of her clothes or the size of her following. It is measured by the depth of her compassion, the strength of her character, the resilience of her spirit. It is measured by how she treats herself and others, by the life she builds, not based on how it looks to the outside world, but based on how it feels to her own soul. There is a quiet power in a woman who knows her worth. She does not need to announce it, to flaunt it, to prove it. It is evident in the way she carries herself, in the way she speaks, in the way she sets boundaries, and in the way she gives love without losing herself. She does not allow the world to cheapen her value by reducing her to her appearance or her achievements. She does not allow rejection, failure, or disappointment to define her because she knows these are of experiences, not verdicts on her worth. Self-worth is not about arrogance or thinking oneself better than others. It is about seeing oneself clearly, embracing both strengths and imperfections, and knowing that neither defines her entirely. It is about understanding that worthiness is inherent, not earned. It is about walking through life with a quiet assurance that you are deserving of love, respect, and joy, simply because you exist. And when a woman builds your life on the foundation of true self-worth, she becomes unshakable. She can face criticism without crumbling. She can face loss without losing herself. She can face success without becoming enslaved to the praise that comes with it. She does not rely on external circumstances to feel good about herself because she carries her worth within her wherever she goes. It is not situational, it is permanent. The danger of measuring worth by society's standards is that those standards are fickle and shallow. They praise beauty today and tear it down tomorrow. They celebrate achievement today and discard it when someone else comes along with something shinier. Chasing society's approval is like chasing the wind. It will exhaust you, frustrate you, and ultimately leave you empty. But standing firmly in your own self-worth is like being rooted in the earth itself. Storms may come, seasons may change, but you remain grounded, unshaken by the chaos around you. Every woman deserves to live with the knowledge that her worth is not up for debate. It is not contingent upon her looks, her job, her relationships, or her social status. It exists because she exists. It is sacred. It is non-negotiable. The emperor's clothes. It is the wellspring from which true confidence flows, the shield that protects her from the arrows of judgment, the light that guides her through every challenge she faces. It is the quiet, steady truth that no matter what the world says or does, she is enough. Grace and heart are more powerful than glamour. In a world obsessed with appearances, easy to be fooled into thinking that true power lies in looking the part, in dazzling with style and keeping up with every trend and every expectation. But real impact, the kind that changes lives and leaves a lasting imprint, does not come from the surface. It comes from something much deeper. It comes from the way a woman carries herself with grace, even when the world is unkind. It comes from the way she leads with her heart, choosing compassion over competition, kindness over cruelty, authenticity over artifice. Grace is the quiet strength to respond with calm when provoked, to show kindness when it would be easier to dismiss, to extend forgiveness when bitterness would seem more justified. It is not weakness. It is a fierce kind of strength that chooses dignity over retaliation. A woman with grace does not need to shout to be heard. She does not need to dominate to command respect. She moves through life with an ease and an elegance that speaks louder than any words, louder than any designer gown or magazine cover ever could. Grace cannot be bought, imitated, or faked. It must be lived, earned through experience, through trials, through the daily choices to rise above rather than sink low. Heart is what fuels grace. Heart is the courage to care deeply in a world that often rewards indifference. It is the ability to see the humanity in others, even those who may not see it in you. A woman who leads with her heart is not naive. She is powerful. She chooses to remain open even when the world tries to harden her. She chooses to build instead of tear down, to uplift instead of belittle, to nurture instead of neglect. Her heart is not a liability. It is her greatest source of strength, a well of resilience and love that nothing and no one can drain without her permission. Glamour, for all its sparkle, is fleeting. It captures attention for a moment, but often leaves emptiness in its wake when it is not backed by substance. It demands constant maintenance, constant reinvention, constant validation from the outside. It feeds on approval and crumbles without it. But grace and heart need no audience. They shine brightest when no one is watching. They build relationships that last, inspire loyalty that cannot be bought, and create a legacy that outlives appearances. A woman who understands the power of grace and heart walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere without needing to draw attention to herself. Her presence is calming, reassuring, strengthening. She does not need a spotlight because her light comes from within. She does not need applause because her fulfillment comes from knowing she is living in alignment with her true self. She does not need the latest trends to validate her beauty because her beauty is timeless, rooted in her kindness, her authenticity, her unwavering sense of purpose. In every situation, grace and heart offer a kind of armor that glamour never could. When faced with criticism, a woman of grace responds with understanding. When faced with betrayal, she responds with wisdom, choosing to learn rather than to grow bitter. When faced with injustice, her heart fuels her courage to stand up and speak out, not just for herself, but for others as well. She knows that real strength lies not in looking perfect, but in being willing to fight for what is right, to love when it is hard, to forgive when it seems impossible. Society often celebrates the glamorous because it is easy to see. It is flashy, attention-grabbing, immediate. But the woman who invests in her heart, who hones her grace, who chooses substance over spectacle, knows that real greatness is not found in temporary applause. It is found in the way people feel when they are around her, in the way she makes others feel seen, valued, and loved. It is found in the lives she touches, often without even realizing it, simply by being who she is. Grace and heart create a ripple effect that glamour never could. They inspire others to rise higher, to love deeper, to live more honestly. They challenge the shallow values of a world obsessed with image and offer a different path, a path of meaning, depth, and true connection. A woman who lives with grace and leads. Her heart leaves behind a legacy that is measured not by how many people knew her name, but by how many lives she made better simply by being herself. Her influence cannot be packaged or sold, because it is not about what she had on the outside, but about who she was on the inside. Character, not appearance, defines true beauty. In a world that often measures worth by external standards, how you look, what you wear, how closely you fit a mold, it is easy to forget that what truly makes a person beautiful is not what can be seen at first glance. It is what lives within, what speaks through actions, what resonates in the way a person treats others. Character is the soul's fingerprint. It is the collection of choices, the strength of values, the consistency of kindness when no one is watching. It is the honesty that doesn't waver under pressure, the loyalty that remains even when times get hard, the compassion that shows up without expecting anything in return. Beauty built on appearance alone is fragile. It shifts with time, with trends, with the inevitable changes that life brings. But beauty built on character is enduring. It grows deeper as the years pass. It shines brighter after every test of integrity, every hard-fought lesson, every selfless act. A woman whose beauty is defined by her character cannot be diminished by age, by criticism, or by the fleeting judgments of others. She is rooted in something eternal, something that no surface-level attribute could ever rival. Character reveals itself in the small choices as much as the big ones. It is in the way she speaks about others when they are not around. It is in how she treats people who can do nothing for her. It is in her willingness to stand for what is right, even when standing alone. It is in her humility when praised and her resilience when misunderstood. True character is consistent. It does not shift with the tides of convenience or popularity. It remains steady, a quiet but undeniable presence that speaks louder than any first impression ever could. The world is filled with opportunities to chase after appearances. Everywhere you turn, there are messages urging women to perfect their image, to present themselves in ways that will gain approval, admiration, envy. But true fulfillment, the kind that lasts long after the applause fades, comes from living in a way that is true to who you are. It comes from building a life centered on integrity, empathy, authenticity. It comes from choosing to cultivate a heart that is kind, a mind that is wise, a spirit that is strong. A woman of strong character does not need to prove herself through outward displays. Her beauty speaks for itself in the kindness she extends, the fairness with which she treats others, the strength she shows in adversity. She does not need validation from the outside world because she has already validated herself through the way she lives. Her actions tell her story. Her choices reveal her worth. Her life becomes a testimony to the idea that beauty is not something you wear, it is something you embody. Character is not about perfection. It is about honesty. It is about owning mistakes, learning from them, striving to be better without pretending to be flawless. It is about having the courage to admit when you are wrong, the humility to seek forgiveness, and the strength to keep growing. It is not living in a way that aligns with deeper truths rather than surface level approval. That kind of beauty does not fade with age, it matures. It does not crack under pressure, it strengthens. It does not rely on the ever-changing opinions of others, it stands firm in its own truth. A beautiful character transforms everything around it. It builds trust, inspires hope, encourages goodness. It lights a path for others to follow. It brings a kind of peace that no amount of glamour can replicate. It is seen in the quiet acts of generosity, in the moments of grace under pressure, in the way a woman makes others feel safe, valued, and heard. This kind of beauty cannot be captured in a photographed or measured by a headline. It is felt in the soul, recognized by those who truly see. In a culture that often rewards style over substance, it takes courage to choose character first. It takes courage to live in a way that may not always be celebrated or even noticed, but remains true to something bigger than personal gain. It takes courage to prioritize kindness over status, honesty over image, service over self-promotion. But the rewards of such a life are far greater than anything the world can offer. Character leaves a legacy that endures long after appearances have faded. It shapes relationships, families, communities. It leaves an imprint on the hearts of those who encounter it, an imprint that speaks louder and lasts longer than any fleeting beauty ever could. It is not about how bright you shine in a moment, but how consistently you bring light over a lifetime. It is not about turning heads, but about touching hearts. It is not about being seen, but about being remembered for all the right reasons. So to every woman listening tonight, don't ever let society shrink you down to the size of your outfit. Don't let them define you by your looks. Your power is not in your wardrobe, it's in your walk. It's in your words, it's in your spirit. And to everyone else, if you want to see real beauty, look past the surface. Look at how she loves. Look at how she dreams. Look at how she lifts others up when she could have stayed silent. The beauty of a woman is not in the clothes she wears, it's in the life she leads. Thank you.